Hello everyone, I'm Chris Martenson of Peak Prosperity, and it is Friday, May 12th, 2017, and crazy stuff going on in the world. As always, I keep saying this, right? Week after week, we keep talking about the same things. Now, I'm on record as saying that all of this monetary experimenting ends in a big disaster at some point. And of course it has to. Not just because you can't print your way to prosperity, duh, we all know that. Not just because every monetary printing experiment in all of history has failed, whether that was Zimbabwe with paper currency, Romans with silver and gold-backed currency, or whether it was electronic currency, it all ends the same way for the same reasons. We humans love to get a free lunch. If we can kick the can down the road, we'll do that. We'll just kick the can a little bit and prefer future pain over current, job difficulties or anything like that. Now, the only thing that's really, personally aggravating in this story to me is how the past Fed chairman like Greenspan, Bernanke, and Yellen now, while she's in the role, but I'm sure afterwards as well, are running around talking about how they're like heroes for printing gobs and gobs and gobs of electronic money, shoving it into the markets, and then going, oh my God, the markets went up. Of course they did, right? So this story always ends badly. And what we're going to do is at Peak Prosperity, we're trying something new coming up pretty soon. It's going to be in June. And you can find out about it at our website. We have a webinar. This is a paid webinar called The End of Money. I love the title because that's what I originally, when I first started talking about the crash course way back before it was the crash course, it was a seminar called The End of Money, the one that I gave in church basements and at the community room at the bank, if only they knew what I was talking about. And The End of Money is going to have some really luminous people on there. We've got David Stockman coming on. He's going to talk about everything he knows. He's the former OMB director under Reagan, so he knows a lot about the markets. We've got G. Edward Griffin. He, of course, knows more about the Federal Reserve than almost anybody else alive at this point in time. And we've got Axel Merck, who has more contact with actual current and former Fed officials than anybody else that I personally know. So I'll be moderating. We'll have those three individuals, and we're going to be talking about what happens when the end of money comes. Now, I've also written a two-part piece for this week, and it's really organized around this one idea, which is, come on, people, it's already happening. If you don't see the signs of disruption, of impending collapse possibly, of the shifts that are happening, if you don't see those in the news, it means you haven't been reading the news. If you can't feel them, it means you've been drinking too much. We are all very nervous at this point in time, the people on this planet, for good reason. One of the reasons I think that we're that way is because what we're doing is we're snapping the webs of life all around us, and I think we're registering that on some level. Or perhaps you're just nervous because of the geopolitical news, or because deep down you already know something, which is you can't print your way to prosperity, and these episodes always end badly. What do I mean by badly? If you want to know badly, go to Google right now, type in Venezuela. The average person in Venezuela has lost 19 pounds. Do you know why? It's not because they're on a nice diet. It's because food imports are down 40%. There's not enough to eat. The entire country is socially imploding, but also starving. And if you're watching this in the United States, that's probably surprising news to you, because we're not talking about it too much up here. It's not something we like to put in the news. What we like to put in the news is the Dow hit a new record high, that people are really excited by how much Amazon and Facebook and Google shares have gone up, and all of those things. Those are simply the ways in which the powers that be love to communicate with everybody, including us, about how great everything is. They do a couple things. They tend to step on the price of gold. They tend to ram up the price of headline stock indexes to make us feel better. Why? I guess they don't want us nervous. And they would like us to continue to borrow and spend and borrow and spend and borrow and spend. That's the model. Obviously, that doesn't work either. You can't keep borrowing on a finite planet. So you put all of this together, and that's why I've talked about in this new article and report, it's about really how it's already happening and what you should be thinking about doing to respond to that. Now, at Peak Prosperity, our model hasn't changed in a while. It's all about the knowing. So if you know where you are in this story, that's part one. Lots of things we can know about, some pretty exciting, some a little bit disappointing. Lots of knowing. Knowing without doing, useless. So what do you do about this? Well, lots of things you can do. We've organized Prosper, the book, around 8 forms of capital. Financial capital's just one. So the other 7 forms, if you are rich in those, you will be rich and resilient and prepared for the future. And then finally, the part that I'm really steering towards with this new report I've got out is the being part of this story. So knowing, doing, being, that's our complete model. Increasingly, we understand that how we're being, how we're showing up in this world is the most important part of this story. Buying a few extra trinkets, learning a few more things, kind of irrelevant if we don't change how we're operating and being in this world. And of course, if you can really master the being part, it's not just some future calamity you're being resilient towards. You're in a position to make the most out of this very moment, out of this life, out of this sets of activities that you're doing here and now. So with that, I'm Chris Martenson. Remember, we've got that beautiful, wonderful, our very first pay-per-view webinar coming up with 3 experts. We're going to talk about the end of money. Come by Peak Prosperity, check out all the conversations we're having, and until next week, I'll see you and goodbye.